Having really good conversations multiple times a day. Senator Gazelka, the governor, and I. We got a lot of new information on Monday about the federal guidelines. And so in some ways that reset the table. Sorry. You're okay. Hold on. There we go. Yep. So things have really sped up since Monday. But as you are aware, we're coming to the last few days of session, and so it will be very difficult to finish on time given the logistics involved in putting the bills together. So even if we had an agreement on all the numbers today and all of the policy today, we are at a point where the staff wouldn't be able to turn that into bills that we could pass by Monday. There may be some things that we will be ready to pass by Monday, but time is getting short for having some of those things ready to go. I think that there is a middle, and we're getting closer to it, but there's still a number of things that we have to talk about. Minnesota school children really probably were hit among the hardest of anyone during COVID-19, and we're really intent on making sure that there's enough staff in those school buildings to make sure that they can recover from COVID-19, whether they go back to school this summer or they go back to school next fall. They're going to need extra help, and we need to give our school districts some predictability in their funding going forward. So it's not just about the money that they'll receive in the short term, but it's about being able to keep the commitment to those staff that they hire to help the children. So that, I would say, would be my number one focus in these negotiations, and I'll leave it there and then we'll answer questions.
We have a very complex set of issues in order to resolve this budget session on time. We have federal funds whose guidance came in late. We have federal funds who can help pay for important priorities in our budget. We have the governor's emergency powers. We have police reform and accountability. We have rebuilding for Minneapolis and St. Paul. There's a lot of issues on the table. Some are holdovers over the last year, some are new, and we have a special session coming up in June for the governor's emergency powers in all likelihood. So the list of issues is long, but I think the speaker is absolutely correct in saying that we are moving towards agreement in a positive way. And the good news for Minnesotans is we are negotiating over positives. We are negotiating over ways to spend more money to make sure that kids get a great education. We're working to make sure that communities are safer. We're working to make sure that our healthcare system is stronger, that frontline workers are able to be supported. We're working to make sure that you unemployment insurance recipients are not paying a tax penalty for receipt of those unemployment benefits. And we're doing it with the help of President Biden and a Democratic Congress. So we have a lot of good things on the table. The negotiations are important to get it right. But even if it takes a little bit of extra time to get to a final conclusion, Minnesotans can have confidence that we will have a better state as a result of this 2021 legislative session, and we are all committed to making sure that that happens.
Sort of timing. Do you feel like you have to get targets by Sunday?
I felt like we had to get targets by Friday, May 7th, because I really feel strongly about meeting our constitutional obligation to finish on time, which would be Monday, May 17th. But when we received the guidance on Monday, May 10th, and that essentially reset the table, you add that on top of the complexities of meeting in a pandemic and the pandemic-related issues, and then police reform, it became clear that it just wasn't likely in the cards.
But just targets by Sunday.
I think we're all, sorry. So once we got the federal guidance on Monday, I would say Tuesday was a very productive day in negotiations. And I'm hopeful that today and tomorrow will be as productive. If today and tomorrow could be as productive as Tuesday, we would have targets pretty soon. But we haven't had the customary blow up that you can expect in budget negotiations where somebody pounds their fist on the table and does an Iron Ranger walkout. So there's a lot of dramatics that are typical to end of session negotiations that haven't happened yet, which probably indicate that that light at the end of the tunnel at this point is an oncoming train and not the end of the tunnel.
Minority Leader Dowd this morning talked about the PPP and the UI taxability. And he is correct that we have a Monday income tax filing deadline, and no one knows what they can really expect out of this. Can you address that, please?
No, I'm fine. Without question, Minnesotans who have taxes due for unemployment insurance should expect that we would step up and address that issue. The challenge that we have is that we don't have partners who are willing to make sure that kids have summer school available. We don't have partners who are willing to make sure that we have police reform. We have so many issues on the table. And that the tax issue is not the only important one. There are many important issues. Minnesotans expect us to get this work done. They expect us to deliver public safety. They expect us to deliver better schools and health care. They expect us to deliver on this tax bill. And there's every reason to think that we will do it. But I don't know that that's possible by May 17th at this point.
So just to be clear, it sounds very much like it is a bargaining chip along with all the other bargaining chips on the table for you guys.
It is an issue in negotiations, but the important thing to realize is that people will have to file amended returns, whether we have an agreement today or 10 days from now. And the Minnesota Department of Revenue can't turn around an agreement that fast. So as a practical matter, the Monday tax deadline is not the deadline that it would seem to be.
Understood. Just a little clarity, though. Would they have to file amended returns? I think revenue could sort of retroactively reimburse and people would just get checks without having to file anything,
That's
right?
a good question for revenue. I do understand that in past cases where we've changed the tax laws after session has adjourned, they have been able to just apply those changes to filed returns. So that may be the case.
Can you talk about the timeline? I mean, you mentioned that June special session is all but likely for the powers. Would you, try to do, if you can't finish Monday, would you try to work and wait to make those moves when the special session comes? Or would you, try to do that, another special session before that June 1 on the powers issue? I mean, what does that look like?
Trip plan?
I don't play those games, so my offers and my timing won't change based on when session dates are. I think that we have an obligation to move as quickly as we can for Minnesotans. This is a part-time citizen legislature. I have a number of members who need to get back to their jobs, aside from the fact that Minnesotans expect us to finish as soon as we can. But I think that the real pressure would be on to have everything sewn up before we come back on June 14th so that we could stay in session just a few days. I have no desire to be here, and I know that you don't either, from June 14th to June 29th. So, what I'm driving toward is making sure that every single thing we can wrap up by Monday is wrapped up and done, and then everything we can have wrapped up and ready to go on Monday, June 14th, is ready to go. And I don't see any reason why that shouldn't be possible unless people take unreasonable positions.
Majority Leader, Minnesota News Network tweeted a little bit ago that you had said we can make our commitments to schools and healthcare without the fifth tier tax proposal. Is that removed from the mix now?
I said that in the long run, we need the fifth tier. We need ongoing revenue to make those commitments. That federal funds in this moment could allow us to fund schools, fund health care with the new guidance that we have without new revenue on the table right now.
Got it. So is that a proposal that's still in the mix this session, or is it something that you think you might take up in a couple years now?
Well, until the session is over, everything is still in the mix. I think the ability to get a fifth tier tax increase passed with a Republican Senate has always been dubious. We succeeded in continuing the provider tax 2 years ago, and that was something of a small miracle, and that was because the money was desperately needed to support health care for 1 million Minnesotans. And I'm not sure what issues Senate Republicans would shut down state government over if they really want to close parks over clean cars, but I'm pretty sure their intransigence on protecting the rich is going to be pretty strong this year.
Yeah, you go ahead. So does the House offers, do they still include fifth tier corporate tax? Some of this offshoring.
Yeah. You want to talk about the soft cone, Madam Speaker?
Well, I was just thinking about this, and then I was thinking about it in terms of a soft serve cone because it's, anyway, so we're not really saying what's in each other's offers because we are trying to put our cards on the table a little bit for each other to see which direction things will go. And I would say we're at a higher level of discussion than that right now.
Speaker, Minority Leader Dowd said, even though he wasn't inside the cone, that as he understood it, that the fifth tier, or many of these original tax proposals were still part of your proposals. I think that's what Theo's getting at, right? Are they or are they not?
Representative Dowd has no idea what's going on in negotiations, so I wouldn't take his word for it.
Can I ask it in a different way then? In 2019, Senator Gazelka's reversal of his opposition to extending the provider tax was, as you folks told us, the linchpin that put that deal together. What's the linchpin this year? Is it going to be this tax proposal? And do you need to pull away from that tax proposal for this to come together?
No, the linchpin is police reform and accountability. It's very similar to last summer. There's quite a bit of work for us to do. Right now, people around the world know that Minnesota is the state where George Floyd was murdered, and they know it is the state that was awaiting a verdict in that case when a young man named Daunte Wright was shot and killed. And so we have some work to do there, and we firmly believe that that policy goal can be met with bipartisan work, and that is really critical to getting everything done.
Anybody want to ask a fifth way?
Well,
Fifth tier question.
is the House position on the PPP still to do 350 and under? Okay.
Doesn't sound like you guys think clean car rules are going to really be a stumbling block. You spoke on that briefly, but what's the latest?
Well, as far as we know, it's Senate Republicans who say it's a stumbling block, and they would rather close down state parks than have emissions be curbed for vehicles in Minnesota. That's the last word on the subject from them.
Well, the last word was the majority leader saying he's offering a 2-year delay. That's the last word. I mean, Ingebrigtsen had a meltdown, but I think the last word is a 2-year delay. Is that acceptable?
You talk energy.
All right. No, it's a topic of conversation in settlement negotiations, but there are a number of unpopular conservative ideology-driven positions that are a part of settlement negotiations right now, but none of them likely to become law.
What does the rest of the week and the weekend look like?
You going fishing on Saturday?
I've never fished in my life.
I would say that we will be here at work Thursday evening, probably Friday all day, most of the day, definitely Saturday. And then if we have an agreement, we would be here Sunday passing things that we have agreed to. We'll definitely be here Monday at work, and then beyond that, I don't know.
So you're not going fishing with the governor?
I don't know yet. Probably not. I think Gus is in the boat this year.
Has he invited you guys?
Yes.
Time for one more.
Are all your members going to vote for the pot bill tomorrow?
I don't know. I expect it to pass.
And then everybody gets us off. So, thanks, everybody.